Now, German sports brand Puma will stop sponsoring Israel's national football team next year. That's according to a company spokesperson who says the move was planned since last year and is not related to consumer boycott calls against Israel amid its atrocities in Gaza. Joining me now to get some reaction to this is Roshan, the spokesperson for the BDS coalition. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting us.
What is the BDS coalition's response to this move by Puma?
Well, we're delighted, of course. I think it shows that BDS does work. We've been campaigning, it's been a global campaign against Puma for at least the last 5 years. Around the world, people have been protesting outside shops, we have done here. And it shows that when you collectively target a company for a very complicit action sponsoring the apartheid Israeli national soccer team, you can win. You can win, and it is a weapon that we have. It's international solidarity activists to wield against companies that are complicit with apartheid Israel.
Well, Puma says this decision was not taken in light of the boycott calls. It says this decision was actually taken a while ago, and says that this was a result of several contracts that had expired, or rather will expire in 2024, but the decision was taken not to renew them. Um, in light of boycott calls, how do you interpret this?
Of course, the company's not going to say that it's given in to pressure from people around the world. But we know that it has, because a year ago, yes, the contract was up for renewal, but it did not make a statement at the time. We were campaigning at the time to say, don't renew the contract. Why now, in the midst of now over 18,000 people have been killed in Gaza? Of course, there's many more that are still left under the rubble, as we know. I mean, on a daily basis, this number is going up and up and up. So if you suddenly, as a company, decide, oh, we're not going to sponsor the apartheid Israeli soccer team. Oh, but it's nothing to do with the boycott campaign, the pressure that's been put on us. We're seeing is unfolding in Palestine. Then, quite honestly, I think it's a rather poor excuse. People around the world, as I was saying, it's been a global campaign. There were people from Malaysia to Germany to America, including in South Africa, because Puma has come in very strong in our country. It's very popular, the clothes, the shops, also sponsoring music events, sponsoring young sports people. And so we're delighted now. We're saying, yes, we do want Puma to be here, but we don't want you to be sponsoring apartheid Israeli soccer team. Now we need to put pressure on for that soccer team to be kicked out of FIFA, as Russia was very quickly after the invasion of Ukraine. We know it's possible. So the sports boycott is continuing, the consumer boycott is continuing, targeting the most complicit businesses here. Calling on shops to get rid of all apartheid Israeli products that are on their shelves. And I think this is, this shows that we can wield that influence as consumers and as activists, putting pressure on our government to put pressure internationally, for instance, for a sports boycott and kicking Israel out of FIFA.
It does appear that the boycott campaign this time around seems to be quite a lot more potent. I think people really are heeding the calls, and we are certainly in some areas seeing results. I mean, recently we saw Woolworths clarifying that they did not stock any Israeli products. We've seen other companies as well. And now with this very good news that Puma has decided to stop its sponsorship of the Israeli soccer team. However, the fight is not over yet. Just earlier this week, we saw what happened with Zara's advert campaign, a ghastly advertising campaign, really. We still have a few other companies as well. What is the BDS coalition now going to do to intensify this campaign?
I think on the back of this victory for BDS, putting that pressure on Puma, people are inspired to really take up the BDS call. We're continuing to put pressure on Cape Union Mart. Philip Kravitz, the owner, as we know, has been publicly raising money for, yes, the Israeli War Fund. It's clearly a war fund. It's raising money from South Africans for Israel for so-called humanitarian support. Can you believe raising money for ambulances in Israel when we've seen them bombing ambulances outside of the hospital before they actually bombed the hospital, the Shifa hospital in Gaza? So yes, I think that's clearly a war fund. If you remember way back under apartheid here, there was campaigns like knitting socks for boys on the border. That's a war fund. We're not saying the money is going directly to pay for missiles. However, supporting a war fund it's clear, and we're saying that we don't want to support businesses here. We don't want South African businesses to be doing that. It's clearly a case of supporting the genocide that's taking place in Gaza. So definitely, Cape Union Mart is still a target for a boycott, as well as we're targeting the ZZ2 tomatoes because we know that company Hishtil is an Israeli company with 2 farms here in South Africa, in Limpopo and the Western Cape, but also 5 farms within the occupied 48 territories. It's an Israeli company that has almost a monopoly on tomato seedlings here. And we're saying enough is enough. These relationships that were started between the apartheid South African state and the apartheid Israeli state under apartheid, it is one struggle. And we're saying, no, we haven't yet got rid of apartheid here. We're not yet an apartheid free zone if we are still having these relationships with them and doing business with apartheid Israeli companies. Of course, we're also calling for a trade embargo. The biggest exports from South Africa to Israel are coal and then diamonds. But we're saying, why are we exporting diamonds and then actually importing them back again? Surely we should be looking to the laws we have in this country around beneficiation of diamonds, of minerals, so that we're exporting more finished products. We're developing jobs and skills here and not just allowing this extractive industry to continue, particularly with apartheid Israel.
Hmm. Okay, just stepping aside from the boycotts for a moment, I want to just finally touch on public perception regarding Israel's bombardment of Palestine. And in fact, just yesterday, or some of the latest news that we're getting out of the United States is that US President Joe Biden has acknowledged that Israel is losing global support as a result of its bombing of Gaza. In fact, indiscriminate bombing of Gaza, as he put it. These comments, of course, were made to donors at a fundraising event yesterday, and they have marked what many believe are his strongest criticism yet of Israel's leadership. However, at the same time, he did also refer to Hamas as animals. What do you make of this?
I think it shows that people pressure works. There is no way that he would be making even the comments, as you say, he's made that are critical of Israel's genocide had not been for people in America, millions of people taking action. We saw even the Jewish Voice for Peace taking over stations, the actions that they've taken in Washington. Those things work. They put pressure. He's no longer able to just go along with everything that Israel is doing. So I think it really shows that the pressure is working. And we need to maintain the pressure and increase the pressure in order to really force a change, particularly, of course, from the United States, which is the key player that can make a difference, that funds directly the apartheid Israeli war machine. And of course, we know they're also trying to get through additional funding for weapons for Israel at the time when it's committing genocide. But it shows that it does work. He would not be even saying that. He was not saying that on 7th October. And that we need to increase the pressure globally. We've seen millions of people around the world. We've even seen the vote in the UN General Assembly. The world doesn't want to see this genocide continue. The world is calling out for a ceasefire. And I think if we just keep the pressure going, ordinary people can make a difference.
Yes, of course. And I think that is the power of solidarity. Certainly something we all need to step up our own individual efforts for the collective achievement later on, of course, in solidarity with the people of Palestine. But thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
That was Roshan Dadoo, the spokesperson for BDS Coalition, speaking to us and giving us some reaction to German sports brand Puma's decision not to renew its contract with a sponsorship deal with an Israeli football team.
Tune in to Salam Media via audio stream.
It was definitely an experience that surpassed all expectations.